Let's discuss the complete process of how to install Python and Visual Studio Code on our computers. In this presentation, we will cover the following topics. The first topic is need of installing the Python interpreter. The second topic is steps to install the Python interpreter. The third topic is steps to install the Visual Studio Code. And the last topic is writing your first program in Visual Studio Code. We will now learn why we need to install Python interpreter on our computers. We need to install Python interpreter because Python interpreter is capable of manipulating and understanding bytecode, which we will get from the compilation step. We have already learned in the last lecture that source code must be provided to compiler, and compiler in turn generates bytecode, which is the intermediate code. We can run this intermediate code on any machine. It can be Windows, Linux or Mac. But the only condition is that we need to install PVM on these machines. PVM stands for Python Virtual Machine, and Python interpreter is part of PVM. So PVM could be thought of as a complete package which is capable of running bytecode and converting it to machine code on the fly. This is what we have learned in the last lecture. Python Virtual Machine must be installed on Windows in order to run bytecode on Windows. If we want to run bytecode on Linux, then Python Virtual Machine must be installed on Linux machine. If we want to run bytecode on Mac machine, then Python Virtual Machine must be installed on Mac machine. So Python Virtual Machine must be installed, and this means that Python interpreter will automatically get installed and eventually we would be able to run our codes. So now we know why we need to install Python interpreter. Let's see the steps to install Python interpreter on our computers. We need to follow the following steps. The first step is to visit the download section of the official website, which is python.org/downloads. Then we need to download the latest version of Python from the website. And finally, we need to open the executable and follow the instructions as shown. After following all these steps, we'd be able to install Python on our computers. So let's first open the official website, which is python.org. We need to visit the download section. For this, we need to type in python.org/downloads. Let's open this website. For this, we need to open our browser first. We can either type Python in the Google search bar to visit the official website, or we can type the URL directly in the search bar here. I'm going to type the URL python.org/downloads. Now we are in python.org/downloads, and we are now ready to download the latest version for Windows. If you are on Mac machine, then you will observe download the latest version for Mac, or if you are on Linux, then you will observe download the latest version for Linux. Right now I'm in my Windows machine, that's why I'm seeing this line. Now I need to download Python 3.11.1, which is the latest version of Python. Let's click on this. The download is successful. I now need to click on this executable. This is Python 3.11.1 setup window. We can either click on this install now or click on customize installation. But before that, we need to check this checkbox. And then we need to click on this customize installation. Then we need to click on next. We need to click on this install Python 3.11 for all users. This is recommended. So let's check this and then click on install. The setup was successful. Let's click on this close button. Now we need to check whether Python is installed successfully or not. For this, we need to open the command prompt, and here we will type Python space -- version. to check whether Python has been installed successfully or not. This will give Python 3.11.1, which is the latest version of Python, and it means that we have installed Python 3.11.1 successfully on our computer. This means that we have installed the Python interpreter successfully. Now we are ready to understand the steps to install the Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is the IDE or the integrated development environment where we will write all our Python programs. This is advantageous to us because if we install Visual Studio Code, we will see a lot of features which we will need throughout in order to write our programs. So let's install Visual Studio Code, and for this we need to follow the following steps. The first step is we need to visit the official website code.visualstudio.com. Then we need to download the latest version of Visual Studio Code from the website. After the download, we need to open the executable and follow the instructions as shown. Let's first visit the official website code.visualstudio.com, and again we need to open our browser. Let's type code.visualstudio.com here. This will open the Visual Studio Code website. Now we need to click on this download for Windows, and the download is started. We then need to click on this executable. We need to accept the agreement. Click on Next, Next, create a desktop icon, Next, Install. We don't want to launch the Visual Studio Code for now. Let's uncheck this and let's click on Finish. The Visual Studio Code has been installed successfully. Up to now, we have discussed the need of installing the Python interpreter. We have seen the steps to install the Python interpreter, and we have installed Python interpreter. After this, we have seen the steps to install the Visual Studio Code, and we have installed the Visual Studio Code as well. Now we are ready to write our first program in Visual Studio Code. So let's go ahead and write our first program in Visual Studio Code. For this, we need to open our Visual Studio Code. This is the Visual Studio Code IDE, and here we will create our new file, and for this we need to click on this file and click on New File. In this dialog box, we have been asked to create a text file or Python file or Jupyter Notebook. I'll choose this text file for now, and I'll click on this Select a Language, which will help me to select the language. I'll type Python here. This will create a new Python file, and the name of this file is untitled1 as I have not selected any name. I'll now write a very simple program which will add two numbers. First, I'll declare a variable num1 and assign it a value 10. Then I'll create new variable num2 and assign it value 20. These two are variables num1 and num2. Num1 is label given to value 10. And num2 is another label given to value 20. Then after this, I want to create a new variable sum, and I want to assign num1 plus num2 to it. Now I want to write this command, print within parentheses sum. This will help in printing the sum, which is 30 on the screen. Why will get sum as 30? Because sum is equal to num1 plus num2. Num1 is 10 and num2 is 20, therefore num1 plus num2 gives 30, and sum is now pointing to 30. So this means that 30 will get printed on the screen. We need to save this file now, and I want to save this file with name add.py. You can save this file on your desktop, or you can save it in a different folder. I have created a folder Python programs already on my desktop. This is desktop Python programs. In this Python programs folder, I want to store this add.py file. So I'll click on save button to save this file add.py in this Python programs folder. I would recommend that you should also create Python programs folder, and from now we'll store all our Python programs in this Python programs folder, which is available in the desktop. So let's save this. Now we are ready to run this program. For this, we will click on this terminal and click on New Terminal. Terminal window is now open. We are in this Python programs folder. We need to type here Python space add.py and press enter. The output that we are getting here is 30, and that is what we have expected. There is one more way to run this program, and for this we need to download some extensions. We can click on this extensions button and we need to type here Python. We first need to install Python extension. We need to click on this and we need to click on install button. Right now it is showing uninstall because I have already installed Python in my Visual Studio Code, but first time you will observe install button instead of uninstall. So click on install and it will automatically install Python in your Visual Studio Code. After installing this Python extension, we need to install one more extension, which is Code Runner. Then we need to click on this and again we need to install Code Runner. After installing Code Runner, you will observe this button, this run button. You can then click on this run button to see the output. The output is 30. In this way, we can directly run our Python programs without the need of typing the commands. Okay friends, this is it for now. Thank you for watching this presentation. I'll see you in the next one.